What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Talking Shit, brought to you by Countermove Fantasy MMA at countermove.com. I'm the batteries that were not included of mixed martial arts, Tommy Toehold. Today, why Brock is bad for Bellator. Let's do this shit! Just today, fight fans, two different stories came out regarding a potential return to MMA by one Broccoli Edward Lesnar. One story said that WWE thinks that Brock will be heading back to the UFC when his contract is up, and the other said that Bellator would be making a run at Lesnar when he becomes available. Scott Coker has stated that from now on, any free agent of value in the MMA marketplace will be getting money thrown their way in an attempt to snatch them up before the UFC can. And why the fuck not, right? Tito and Bonner did 2 million views on Spike in a fight that looked a bit like everyone had just spun around in circles as fast as they could for a couple minutes before starting the bout. And holy fucking shit, Brock Lesnar is the white whale of MMA. If you can land his legendary ass, Jax Links and Corn Nuts will shower you with $1 million bills, right? He brought in the fucking golden age of MMA. Dude bros the world over flocked to Hooters in droves to see him. Every single pay-per-view he touched went over the coveted million buy mark, except for his last pay-per-view. The one that took place over a year after he lost his title to Cain Velasquez due to his stomach trying to kill his giant ass. That pay-per-view did 500,000 buys. 3 years have passed since Alistair Overeem kicked Brock's diverticulitis in the face, causing him to go back to pro wrestling, kinda. And in that time, the landscape of mixed martial arts has changed. Global markets, streaming services, weekly content have become the way of the world. Strikeforce is gone, and in its wake, Bellator has taken the Pepsi spot in the fight game. Scott Coker's trying to bring back the glory days of a few big cards here and there, and fucking A, wouldn't Brock Lesnar just be the crown jewel on Bellator's head? The answer is no. Fuck no, he would not be. Brock Lesnar would potentially be the biggest disaster that ever happened to Bellator, and would be the sort of thing that burns it to the ground faster than a grease fire in a house made of water. Now let me explain, because I can hear your bullshit meter going off right now. To obtain the rights to Brock Lesnar, my guess is that Bellator will have to drop a shit ton of rubles. Now I know that Viacom has more money than Canada, so that won't be a problem. The problem is the return on investment. If you do get the 37-year-old Brock Lesnar, who after only 8 fights has not fought professionally in 3 years due to a catastrophic illness, my guess is that you're gonna be paying 7 figures. But what are you really getting in return? At the height of the popularity of the sport, after losing his title in a year off, his pay-per-view numbers were cut in half. Does Brock Lesnar's debut in Bellator do Tito Bonner numbers? After a 3-year layoff, a part-time stint in the WWE, and 2 losses that took away the mystique of Brock being an unfucking stoppable Viking god? And if it doesn't even do that well, then why are you wasting that much fucking money when you could just snag a couple of old names for cheap to beat the shit out of each other? What if he loses his first fight to somebody 99% of the casual fans you're trying to draw have never heard of? How well does his second fight do then after that? What if he has to retire due to an injury? Where is the division you're gonna build up around him if he's dominant? Tommy, heavyweight is a weak division across the sport. You can argue that if you want. The difference though is that the UFC has the distinction of being where all the best fighters in the world fight. To most hardcore fans, and certainly to the casual viewers who call MMA UFC because they don't know the fucking difference. To them, the UFC has the best heavyweights in the world, and they do. How do you pique people's interest if he does dominate? How do you pique Brock's interest if he dominates like that? Well, they can just use his draw to bring people in to check out the rest of the product. What is the rest of the product though? And how do you convince the casual viewer of the sport that it is a better product than the UFC is offering? Because you are not differentiating your product in any meaningful way. Casual viewer sees a cage and 2 guys fighting in it. How is that different than what the UFC is offering? Especially if they were gonna put Brock on pay-per-view, holy shit. Look, there is a reason that Pepsi will never be bigger than Coke. There is a reason that you call tissue paper Kleenex. Bellator has the money to get Brock Lesnar, yes, but they do not have the brand recognition to do anything of real value with him. Brock Lesnar is a bubble. He is the illusion of progress. When he goes away, so do the gains. For Bellator, it is not sustainable, and as a number 2 brand, it would be a massive misstep. Of course, I say that as if Brock would even go there. From what I've heard about his competitiveness, the UFC makes more sense for Lesnar, and Lesnar makes more sense for the UFC. They have the fighters and the brand to be able to withstand the slings and arrows he brings along with him. Literally. I picture him bringing arrows and a bow everywhere he goes. Brock Lesnar is a walking, breathing Dovahkiin. That's Show Fight fans. Tune in daily for new content weekly on SB Nation. From now to UFC 182, use the promo code RESPECTFULLY while making a deposit at countermove.com and get a 30% bonus on your deposit. For everybody Triple THS, I'm Tommy Toehold. Party on, Garth.